Hi, I'm Dr. Bojack from Atlanta Chiropractic in Stoneham, Mass, your posture doctor. Tonight we're going to talk about good sleeping postures. Okay, so first thing we need to talk about in regards to sleeping posture is minimal energy state. So minimal, right? The neurology in your body is exerting the least amount of energy. Because what does it want to do when it sleeps at night? Regenerate itself. Energy, obviously, is your energy, your juice, your zip, your chi, your life force, your zip, and state is just how the body sits, right? You got that sympathetic tone, which is you're all wound up and ready to go, and you're fighting, or you're running, or you're fighting, or parasympathetic is when you're relaxed. So this is another state, which is your sleeping state, which is when you're relaxed. So minimal energy state has to do with our postures. Okay, so we're going to go back into this rounded shoulders of that nursing home look, right? When your head's down, your shoulders are forward. So when you're sleeping at night, do you really do you really think that your body wants to sleep with its head back and its shoulders back? Or do you think it wants to sleep with your head forward and your shoulders forward? So if you picked it wants to support your posture, which is your head down and your shoulders forward, you're right. Okay? Because that's the posture pattern you've developed. Is your head's forward, your shoulders forward, and that's what your neurology and your musculoskeletal system's used to. So how are you going to sleep? You're going to put 2-3 pillows in your back of your head, right? So it pushes your head forward, pushes your shoulders forward, as opposed to what? Bringing your head back, bringing your shoulders back. Okay? Because this is your minimal energy state, right? You're going to support your posture. So that's going to be your head forward and your shoulders forward. Versus going against your posture, which is your head back and your shoulders back. And guess what? You're going to exert all kinds of energy. And I got a hunch that when you get up in the morning, you're going to be pretty tired. Because you've been brawling all night and fighting all night, that posture and how you're supporting it. So the first posture that we sleep in, or position, right? It's called the fetal position. Okay? That looks like a lot like me when I was a little baby. I'm just kidding. So in a fetal position, right, you're in this fetal C. It's called a fetal position because you're literally in a fetal C, right? Here's his lid, his head. Here's his tail. And you're in that fetal C. Okay? In the fetal position, though, we only have 2 curves. And they're called your primary curves, which are your tailbone and your mid-back. Okay? So it's the one I'm sitting on. That's my tailbone. And my mid-back is what? Between my shoulder blades. Those are primary curves. And that's the only 2 curves you have. So guess what? That's the most comfortable position for that little guy to be in, right? Is in a fetal C position. Okay? And that's how most babies sleep, is in a fetal C position. But as we get older and as we mature and grow, we develop our curves, right? So we start to look up and we start to get up on our... So the first one we develop is what? Our cervical curve. So we look up, right? We're kind of sick of running into walls with our heads. So we finally look up and see the wall so we don't hit it, right? And then after we see what's going on in front of us, then we want to get up and touch and interact with it. So we develop our low back curve. Okay? So now we got 4 curves versus 2 curves. So I got a hunch you're not really supporting those 4 curves if you're sleeping in a fetal C position. Okay? And my thought is that you want to get the most Z's during the course of the evening and relax and sleep and get regenerated as best as you can So I don't really recommend that fetal C position because it's only supporting two curves, right? Your mid back and your tailbone. Now, the second position is sleeping on your side. Okay, as you can see from this little guy, I don't really think that's a very comfortable position, right? So he's got to be pretty tired. One thing about sleeping on your side is you're not supporting any of your curves, right? Because you're on your side. And in most instances, you start to prop your head up with what? Pillows, right? So when you sleep on your side, you might start propping your head up with pillows, or you tuck this pillow and you turn your head. Now you're starting to get rotations in there, or you're getting what we call translations, which is your head's over on the right side or your head's over on the left side because you're building it up with all kinds of pillows. Okay? So the thing about sleeping on your side is you create distortions easily, especially if you're starting to play with pillows. Okay? So you prop your head up with pillow on the right side, all of a sudden your head starts to turn to the left, and now you got rotation. Right? You prop your head up with 3 or 4 pillows here, right? And it pushes your head, and now you got translation onto the left side. Or on the left side, and you got translation to the right side. So we got rotation, and we got translation. Or obviously, if you're laying on the top of the pillow, now you got what? Lateral flexion. Okay, so you can start irritating a lot of postural patterns if you start sleeping on your side and you're supporting that skull incorrectly. Okay, and now you start sleeping with your head down and your shoulders are rotated and torqued. Now you got this rotation, and you got that rotation all night long. Then you get up in the morning, you wonder why you have mid-back irritation, because now you're all torqued up and you're twisted here. Okay? So, although I'll take sleeping on your side over sleeping on your stomach any day. And third one is sleeping on your stomach. Right? We're going to go back to this little guy. So remember, the little guy he's only got two primary curves, right? Thoracic, between your shoulder blades, and his tailbone. So he really doesn't have a whole bunch to support there. Okay, as opposed to you do, because you have 4 curves to support. Okay, and sleeping on your stomach is not doing that. Okay, plus you're going to get, for your spouse, you're going to get a lot more what? Snoring. Right? Because you're shutting down your actual capacity to get air in there, because you turn your head from one side to the other, and if you got your head propped up and you're actually collapsing that trach and your actual breathing apparatus and the air pathways. Okay, so you're much more much more predominant to have snoring when you're laying on your stomach. Plus, you're not supporting those curves, so you don't want to lay on your stomach. That's kind of the worst place for you to be. Okay, and if I got a hunch, if you're sleeping on your stomach, you got some problems. You got some low back irritations. You got mid back irritation, neck irritations. Because when you flip yourself around and you just start to bring that head back, it's starting to light up those postural distortions and lack of mechanics in there. So it's aggravating. You're only sleeping with your head down and your shoulders forward and face down, because anytime you go back, it causes so much resistance and irritation because the mechanics aren't there, that it starts aggravating that neurology and that pain, your pain threshold. Okay, the fourth one is sleeping on your back. This is the one we want. Sleeping on your back. You know why? Because it supports your greatest surface area and it's supporting your curves. Right? And it's putting you in a actual position where you're up over your center of gravity, and you know what? Everything's supported, and it's the best state for you to be in as far as relaxation and that minimal energy state. Okay? So that's with what? That's with your head back, your shoulders back, okay, and your feet out. And you can even, okay, this guy here is sleeping with something underneath his knees. You can do that. I don't find it very comfortable, to be honest with you, but that's totally up to you. Okay? Now, the point being here is minimal energy state, right? We're going to go back to that word because it's really important. If you got that rounded shoulders and your head's down, sleeping on your back is not going to be comfortable, right? Because you got to push your head back against resistance because your pattern is your head forward. So bringing your head back, you got loss of mechanics and shortened muscles and spastic muscles, so that's work. You're going to burn energy to push your head back. Same thing is you're going to burn energy to push your head and your shoulders back, same way. And remember, this is your biggest mass. So when your biggest mass has to go back, you're not relaxing, you're working. Right? So you know what? Ancient guys like myself, right, who've been doing computer work for 20, 30, 40 years, and you got that posture, when you lay on the floor, it aggravates you, right? Bringing your head back, or you got to look up at something, it aggravates you, because again, you're going against this posture. So as soon as you lay in bed with your head back and shoulders back, man, that aggravates the hell out of you. So what do you got to do? You want to turn, roll to one side, get out of that position. Okay? And that's my point. We're right back to minimal energy state. Right? Your body's much more, our intelligence, our innate intelligence is much more powerful and intelligent than the cerebral intelligence. Okay? And it's always trying to lead us and give us hints. Right? So one of a good response in the show that is you're typing, you finally get done typing. What do? You're pushing your shoulders back and pushing your head back. Why? Because your body wants to go there because it knows this is what you're doing, right? So it's trying to push your shoulders back, bring your head back, get you up over your center of gravity. So you're not straining and stressing and irritating all those muscles, that musculoskeletal structure and that neurology. Right? Or you're pushing your head back, pulling your shoulders back. You're constantly doing that because your body already knows it's what? Not aligned like it needs to be aligned. Hence, it's not being efficient in regards to how it's burning its energy. And that's, again, we go right back to square one, what we started with. Minimal energy state. Your intelligence knows where your minimal energy state is, and it's always calculating that. And as soon as you're out of that minimal energy state and you're starting to create these postural patterns and distortions and irritations, it starts to notify you or send out an actual warning. Right? Push your shoulders back, bring your head back. You know, the shoulder's getting tight because your shoulders are rolling forward. So you might start out with a good idea of what? Laying on your back with your head back and your shoulders back, but you might be the individual with this translation or this nursing home or that gargoyle look, right? With your head forward and your shoulders going forward. And I got a hunch you don't stay on your back or on the back of your neck, laying on the back of your neck for long, right? You roll right to your side. Okay? So that's not your innate fault. That's what's going on with your posture and your mechanics and your distortions in there. Pillows. How about those pillows? All right, so there's all kinds of pillows, right? You can go crazy out there with pillows. All right, so this is just two of them that we have in the clinic that we give out to our patients. Here's the one we start with. Right? So you can see it's contoured, right? There's a thick side and there's a thinner side. Right? So that's made so when you're sleeping on your back, right, you're laying on that small contoured side when we start you, right? Because we're just starting to create mechanics and movement in that structure to get you to lay on your back. And then once we start getting into your specific posture with your specific individualized, personalized program, then you can start going to that thicker portion. Okay? And this kind of molds to your neck too, this pillow. Okay, real basic, real simple pillow. Okay, so that's one. And then we got this pillow. Okay, that's got the what? Kind of got the square in the middle, or a divot, right? But it's the same premise. Okay? But it wants to, it's made so that when you're laying in there, right, you're not cranking your head around, because it's got blocks, or pads on both sides. So if you turn your head, you're gonna hit that pad. If you turn your head, you're gonna hit that pad. Okay, so this is a little more controlled, right, in regards to how you're sleeping. As your head sits in here, if it rolls, it's gonna kind of hit this high side, and it's gonna keep you from rolling all the way, rotating all the way around. Same thing on this side. Okay, and then it's got the same deal, right, from the lateral or side dimension. This rolls smaller, this rolls thicker, right? So your head's gonna lay like this, right? So there's a small side. And if you want to use the thicker side, same thing, right? But obviously, to use this thicker side, what do you need? You need that curve, right? That arc of life, that fetal, that actual banana curve. And again, we're right back to square one, right? Strength of a straight line is derived by a number of curves squared plus 1, right? The structural integrity and strength of that structure from a side dimension is in its curvature. So we want those curves, because the curves are going to what? Spread out the tension, dissipate them, right? Versus if it's a military neck straight up and down, it's not dissipating, it's localized into one area. Okay? That's what we don't want. We want this structure pliable. We want it mechanically sound and functional, so it doesn't impose on that neurology. Remember, that neurology, or your power cord or spinal cord, is like overcooked pasta. So you don't want the irritation on that structure. Okay? So, I hope you get a good night. A lot of Z's tonight. Sleep well. And I hope you get up and hear your alarm clock Rip Van Winkle. Have a great night. Have a mammoth Monday. Talk to you soon, and we'd love to check your posture and spine for any postural distortions or mechanical dysfunctions. See you soon.